What happens when you have an emotionally unavailable father and a psychopathic mother? You get Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is a young adolescent who grew up with the League of Assassins. He was trained to be an assassin and to one day lead the League and even rule the world. That was until the age of 10 when his mother, Talia al Ghul, decided to send him to Gotham to be with his father, Bruce Wayne. Bruce didn't know he had a son, so he was not prepared to parent a young child. This was especially hard because, he is the CEO of Wayne Enterprises by day and Batman by night. This is not the best recipe for a child, yet it is what Damian Wayne had to go through. This inevitably left an effect on the young boy. Hello, my name is Matt Smilix. I'm a psychologist, and today we are taking a closer look at the attachment style theory and which attachment style fits best with Damian Wayne. In 1970, John Bowlby theorized that secure attachments are formed when caregivers are consistently sensitive and responsive towards their children. As children grow, they use these attachment figures as a secure base to explore the world, meet new people, and return to comfort. Interactions with primary caregivers are hypothesized to form an internal working model, so a way children consistently interact in relationship with others. Later, Mary Ainsworth expanded on the work of Bowlby. Ainsworth highlighted the importance of sensitive responses by the mother. She tested this theory through the strange situation procedure. In this procedure, a parent and infant enter the experiment room. The child is allowed to play and explore while the parent just sits there. Then a stranger enters the room, engages with the parent, and then approaches the child. This is when the parent leaves. The stranger keeps interacting with the child. Then, the parent returns and comforts the infant to then leave again together with the stranger, leaving the child alone in the room. Next, the stranger returns to the room and interacts with the child again. Lastly, the parent returns, picks the child up, and the stranger leaves. During this experiment, Mary observed 4 behaviors. The amount of exploration the child engages in, which basically means if it plays with new toys, the children's reactions to the departure of the parent, stranger anxiety when it's alone with a stranger, and the child's behavior when it's reunited with the parent. Based on these behaviors, the children were categorized in 3 groups, which later turned into the 4 attachment styles. The first is a secure attachment. A child who is securely attached to its parent will explore and play freely while the parent is present. When the stranger enters, they will engage with them, but they will be upset when the caregiver leaves. They respond happily when the parent returns. In short, the child feels confident that the parent is available and it will respond to their attachment needs and communications. Securely attached children are great at exploring and playing when they have a secure base to return to when they're distressed. A present and sensitive parent which boosts their sense of security, and they will be better educated in coping with the same problems in the future. This makes this attachment style the most adaptive style for learning and using resources in non-threatening situations. A second attachment style is anxious avoidant. Children with this attachment pattern will avoid or ignore the caregiver, and they show little emotion when the parent leaves or returns. When the parent enters the room again, the infant responds with a mere look or smile. The child doesn't approach the caregiver, and when picked up, they don't cuddle, look away, or may even squirm to get down. These children will not explore much regardless of who is present. Ainsworth theorized that this seemingly nonchalant behavior was actually a mask for distress, which was later confirmed. Children who responded in this manner had a history of unmet needs, and the infant came to believe that communication of emotional needs had no influence on the caregiver. A third attachment style is the anxious, ambivalent, or resistant. These children showed distress even before the parent left the room. They were clingy and difficult to comfort on the parent's return. When the parent left, they either showed signs of resentment or helpless passivity. This attachment strategy is a response to unpredictable responses by the parent. They display anger or helplessness towards the caregiver to ensure the parent stays. They want closeness or contact with the parents, but search for it in a passive way. They don't approach the parents themselves. A last attachment style is the disorganized pattern. Children in this category show tense movements such as hunching their shoulders, putting the hands behind the neck, and tensely cocking the head. Such movements indicate stress since these movements happened right before they started crying. Children with this attachment style showed overt signs of fear or freezing. The behavior of the infant did not appear to be coordinated in a smooth way across episodes to achieve closeness with the caregiver. As children grow older, these behaviors turn into internal cognitions. We all have an internal system of thoughts, memories, beliefs, expectations, and emotions. This internal working model of social relationships is theorized to continue to develop with time and experience. In 1987, Cindy Hazan and Philip Shaver extended the attachment theory to romantic relationships as adolescents and adults. In short, they say that a person's attachment style in a relationship is determined by childhood relationships with parents and the ways in which they experience and manage their emotions. People with a secure attachment are comfortable with intimacy and they can balance between being independent and dependent in relationships. Someone with an anxious or preoccupied attachment craves intimacy and they can behave overly dependent and even demanding in relationships. They tend to fear being abandoned, which can lead to them ignoring their own needs. People with an avoidant or dismissive attachment style are usually self-sufficient to the point of appearing detached and maybe even uninterested. They are independent and tend to solve problems on their own instead of reaching out. Someone who is rather disorganized or fearful desires close relationships and vulnerability, yet they may behave unpredictably due to their internal conflict between a desire for intimacy and their fear of it. Across the majority of DC comics and movies, Damian Wayne matches with an avoidant dismissive attachment style, with some traits of a disorganized attachment depending on the continuity and era. Again, children with a dismissive attachment style tend to minimize emotional expression, rely heavily on self-sufficiency, struggle with trust and closeness, and act as if they don't need others, even when they do. In his early years, Damian was trained and raised by the League of Assassins. He grew up in an environment that celebrated discipline, emotional suppression, and self-reliance. He was taught that showing emotions or vulnerability equals weakness. His mother, Talia al Ghul, also raised him with the belief that he was the best and would rule the earth. Damian really internalized this belief. When he was sent to live with Bruce Wayne and found out Tim Drake was Robin, he decided to create his own Robin costume. He felt replaced and not good enough, so he coped by being overly self-reliant. It's a very stereotypical cognitive pattern of "I don't need anyone." As I explained earlier, children with an avoidant attachment usually didn't have their needs met when they were younger. And this is absolutely the case with Damian. Not only was he raised with the belief system that vulnerability means weakness, his own mother left him to go live with his father who didn't even know he had a son. It was hard for both Bruce and Damian to adjust to this new lifestyle, especially since Bruce struggles showing intimacy as well. Talia left Damian to this new life and then went on to use him against his own father and brother Dick Grayson. Talia did not win Mother of the Year since she was also the one who created the clone that killed Damian simply because she believed he wasn't good enough. Damian also had to experience the supposed death of Bruce, adding grief to the list of difficult to process emotions he had to go through. All of this abandonment can lead to anger and aggression combined with the feeling of rejection and low self-esteem. This is how he responds to vulnerability as well. Damian thinks he is better on his own and he doesn't need anyone. So, he rejects help and gets uncomfortable when people do show affection. This hypercompetence as a defense mechanism is one of Damian's core traits in my opinion. He is constantly telling others he is better than them and that he doesn't need their help, especially when he just joined the Bat family. But this is not him being arrogant or overly confident. It's Damian using protective self-reliance. He is protecting himself or his ego from being hurt by others or by being left out. It's all really sad because we do know Damian wants to be part of his family and he wants to be loved and appreciated. A clear example of this is in the Battle of the Super Sons animated movie. Here, Damian is rejected from the Teen Titans, and instead of admitting he is disappointed or hurt, he gets defensive and claims he doesn't need anyone and he'll make his own team. Damian also fits some traits of a disorganized attachment. People with this attachment are conflicted. They swing between seeking closeness and pushing it away, and they have trouble regulating aggression and affection. Damian's early life merged affection with violence. He was valued as a weapon, not as a child. He was loved when he was accomplished. This can create internal confusion. A part of him seeks family and a team, but another part of him pushes it away. To use the same example as before, in the Battle of the Super Sons movie, Damian is upset he doesn't get to join the Teen Titans. By the end of the movie, they reconsider, but Damian rejects them and says he has a prior engagement. Another clear example of this behavior is when he interacts with Batman. Damian really tries to earn Batman's approval, but he also resents needing it. He switches between being loyal to the Bat family legacy and being rebellious on his own. Another interesting note I would like to add is the influence of separated parents on attachment style. Talia and Bruce are not together anymore, and this has implications. A 2022 study found that parental separation or divorce leads to a higher rate of avoidant and anxious attachment in their adult children. This is partially because they expect to be abandoned by others, something Damian has a lot of experience in. When you go through the feeling of being abandoned, it can lead to fear, but also the hyper-independence we talked about earlier. I've been alone before, I was fine then, so I don't need anyone. I'm good on my own. Damian has grown a lot since we first met him, and he is now able to show more and more signs of appreciation and affection. He's even capable of working together with others. If you're interested in a deep dive into Damian Wayne, I suggest you watch this video next. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!